Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new episode of First Draft, the series where I give you explanation of a deck and then present you my first draft of a deck that just came out in the recent set or a future set. And in today's video, I'm going to be covering a deck that it's not really my first draft because I took it to locals, but I adapted it just a small amount, but it was close to my first draft. It is Accel. I think Accel is a very interesting deck and hasn't really got much hype within the BT20 meta, but I think it has some unique things going for it. I'm going to be covering all of the cards in the Accel archetype, giving you my thoughts, and then presenting you my first draft on the deck. So let's talk about some new cards. Well, they're all new. Some cards from BT20 Accel. So let's talk about the new cards in Accel. So the first card we'll be talking about is the Egg, and the Egg is probably one of the more interesting pieces of this archetype. It's green where most of the deck is yellow, but it has a really powerful effect, and that is that whenever you play an Accel Digimon, the Digimon that has this Egg underneath is able to Digivolve into an Accel trait Digimon card with a reduced cost too. So if you're going from a level 3 to a 4, it's for free. If you go into a 4 to 5, you only pay 1, and so forth. This effect is crazy, and in this deck, it essentially is the combo enabler for your massive swing turn to control your opponent's field. It's also important to note that, giving any deck a training on legs per se is very impressive. And as this is the only Accel Egg that we have, we do play this as our main egg for the deck. Then let's go into the level 3s, and the first level 3 I'm going to be covering is Falcomon. It is a green-yellow Digimon. You can Digivolve into 1 or 0 if you have an Accel trait, the Egg, and it has the following effect of when you would Digivolve into a Digimon card with the Accel trait, you can reduce the Digievolution by 1. And then for all of the green-yellow cards in Accel from level 3s to 4s, it has the inheritable of Piercing. So this is just your standard reduce of Digievolution by 1, and it is very effective in this deck, especially as this deck has multiple effects that combo with each other very well. The most important part is that I would consider the green-yellow cards to be more aggressive and the yellow-black cards more defensive or controlling. Being able to reduce cost by 1 is pretty nice overall. What I'll be saying this throughout the whole video is that there aren't any other Accel trait cards. When it comes to an Accel deck, you do tend to play them all within the deck. Now let's talk about the other level 3, the yellow-black one, which is Lylemon. This is your standard search for the deck. Look at top 3, add a card with Chaosmon, or the Accel trait, and then also add 1 option card with the Accel trait from your hand and put the rest to the bottom of the deck. And then as this is a yellow-black Digimon, we have the inheritable of Barrier. All the level 3s and 4s yellow-black Digimon in this deck have the effect of Barrier. So yeah, the search is actually relatively good, especially when one of the cards that you will be searching for a lot of is the option card, which we'll get to at the end. But that option card is very pivotal for the strategy, and being able to search it for a rookie is pretty decent. Good card for the deck. Then we start going into the level 4s, and the first one we talk about is the green-yellow Diatrimon. This just has a simple effect of that you're able to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. This effect is just very simple, but also just very nice and effective. Just essentially being able to suspend any Digimon on your opponent's side of the field is nice, and as a lot of the green-yellow stuff has piercing, well, if you're able to swing into it, you've essentially just got rid of a body and also being able to swing at security. And if you have Barrier underneath, well, you're essentially guaranteed to live the check. This is pretty decent, especially when it comes to the Floodgate rookies, which are very effective against this deck, and being able to answer them with a card like this and another one, which we'll get into in a sec, is pretty nice. So in that regard, Diatrimon is a really good card. Then we have the Leomon, which is the yellow-black level 4, which has the following effect of on play and when Digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon gains minus 3k DP for the turn. This is just another nice card to essentially remove some of those Floodgate rookies that might be annoying or causing you havoc within the deck, which does happen. So being able to get rid of them is quite nice, and being able to have the Barrier underneath as well. So if you go into level 5, you're able to survive swings at security. So pretty decent card overall to get rid of those pesky Floodgate rookies. Now let's go into the level 5s, and we're talking about the level 5 Chromon, the green-yellow one. So it has the on play and when Digivolving, you're able to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and then one of your Digimon gains 3k DP for the turn, and then one of your Digimon may attack. And then for the green-yellow inheritables for level 5s and 6, sixes, they have, when attacking once per turn, one of your opponent's Digimon gains minus 4k DP for the turn. So just getting the DP is quite nice, quite frankly, because normally they're like 6k DP. Being able to swing for 9k, you're looking better to survive your checks essentially, especially with barrier and piercing. You know, just being able to do minus 4k to a Digimon when you're attacking for cards that we'll get into in a bit, pretty nice, and just being able to control the field. So overall, I think Chromon's pretty decent in the deck. Now let's talk about the yellow-black Digimon level 5, and that is the Loader Leomon. On play and when Digivolving, till the end of your opponent's turn, one of their Digimon can't activate when Digivolving effects, and it also loses minus 3k DP. It also has the inheritable for the level 5 and 6's yellow and black Digimon that it says when one of your opponent's Digimon attacks, you may change the target to this Digimon. So I think this card is actually kind of insane for the strategy because, well, if you're able to trigger off the Loader Leo and stop their when Digivolving effects, you could potentially bait out aces from your opponent, and when they go effect, you go no no no. And the controlling aspect, or the pseudo blocker in the inheritable, is very nice as well. When you end your turn, you'll be in a 15k guy, which is hard to get through. I mean, pretty decent card overall. Now let's get into the big boys, the combo enablers of the deck, and those are the level 6s. The first one we're going to be talking about is the green-yellow level 6, the Varodurumon. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I could be incorrect there, but it has a lot of effects. So you can reduce the play cost of this card if you have another card with the Accel trait, and if you do, you can reduce the cost of this by 5. Costs 12 normally, reducing it by 5, 7. Not bad for a level 6. And then on play and when Digivolving, suspend all of your opponent's Digimon, and one of the Digimon gains 3k DP for the turn, and then one of your Digimon may attack. Then at the end of your turn, this Digimon and any of your other Digimon may DNA Digivolve into a Digimon card with Chaosmon in its name in the hand, and then that DNA Digivolved Digimon may attack. So yeah, this card is quite frankly the combo starter to get you through your opponent's security very quickly, because you play this, you're able to swing with your level 5 stack, then you're able to Digivolve using the Pinomon effect into another level 6, which we'll get into in a second, which is very powerful, able to swing 15k one check, and then at the end of the turn, you can go into Chaosmon and swing for more checks. This card is pivotal for the strategy. I mean, any level 6 for this deck is pretty pivotal for the strategy, so pretty good card overall. Now let's talk about what I think is the best level 6 in the deck currently, and that is the Bancho Leomon. Has the same reduction effect, so you're able to play it for 7 if you have an Accel trait card in play, and then on play and when Digivolving, de-Digivolve to one of your opponent's Digimon, then one of your opponent's Digimon gains minus 5k DP till the end of their turn, and it has the normal end of turn DNA effect as well. The reason why I like this card more is because it essentially just is able to control the field. Like if they have an ace, you're able to control it. If you have the threat of an ace, you're able to control it. And in those regards, like, this card is very powerful, and most importantly is that you can do these effects in different Digimon essentially. So you can de-Digivolve one Digimon, and then you can do minus 5k DP to another Digimon on the field, which might be problematic to you. So in that regard, I think Bancho is a nice bit of control for the deck that the deck desperately needs at some point, and it obviously has the inheritable of the pseudo blocker effect. Pretty good level 6, but you're asking yourself, what Chaosmon are you Digivolving into? Well, let me talk to you about the new one. Now, Chaosmon Valderarm is nothing to scoff at. In fact, I think it might be one of the best level 7s we currently have in the game, quite frankly, because this is what it does. It has the DNA Digivolve of a yellow and then a green-black card, so it costs 0, and then it has security attack +1 and partition, same colors, yellow or green on black. Then, when Digivolving, for each of this Digimon's level 6 Digievolution cards, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers and gain 1 memory. Then, none of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers activate on-play effects or unsuspend until the end of their turn. This card just does everything. Let's just put it out there. Like, this card is absolutely insane. What this essentially does is locks down your opponent completely. They can't unsuspend, so if you have the Varodoru and you suspend a bunch of Digimon, they can't do anything about it. And then on top of that, you disable on plays for the turn. So, I mean, they can't really do much to answer that. And that is pretty darn good, I would say. Especially with the current meta of Purple Hybrid. Obviously the ban list has been announced at this point, but you know, a lot of on-play still happen. On-play is not going anywhere, so being able to stop all of those from happening is pretty good in my opinion. And Valderarm from BT20 is nothing to scoff at. So some of you might be asking yourself about an option card that I mentioned with the Lylemon. Well, let's talk about it. It is Singularity of Chaos, and this card does so much for the archetype. So if you have a Chaosmon in name or a card with the Accel trait in play, you can ignore the card's requirements. And then for security, you gain 1 memory and then you're able to add this to your hand, so you have guaranteed access to this if it's in security. So for its main effect, for a cost of 2, you may play 1 Digimon card with the Accel trait from your hand, then place this card as any of your Digimon's bottom Digievolution card. It also has the end of opponent's turn inheritable effect of, if this Digimon has Chaosmon in its name, trash your opponent's top security card and this Digimon gets minus 30k. So if you play a level 6 from this effect, not only are you reducing it by 5, but then you're also reducing it by 2. I mean, you have to pay 2 for the Singularity of Chaos, so you're reducing it further to 5 memory, which is pretty good in my opinion. 5 costs level 6, sign me up. So you might be wondering, why would you want your Chaosmon to die to itself? It turns out that is not your effect. That turns out is a gameplay mechanic. So you know what that means? You're able to activate Partition at the end of your opponent's turn. If you do the swings correct, your opponent is probably at either 1 security or 0 security, which means your Bancho and your Virudoro can attack on the following turn because at the end of your opponent's turn. This makes Singularity of Chaos an insane card within the strategy, essentially being able to cheat out level 6s, trash a security, your opponent's security, and then swing on the following turn. And that is all of the support for Accel in BT20 or 2.5 here for the West. I've played a lot of this deck online and in person in tournaments. In fact, I got 2nd place with this deck, and I will be showing you that for my first draft. This deck does have its issues though, and it's consistency. There isn't enough consistency pieces within the deck, quite frankly, and because of that, it is difficult to sometimes build the stack that you want. But if you do get into the stack early on, it's very difficult to essentially sort or handle for your opponent, and in that regard, it does incredibly well. The one weakness of this deck is de-Digivolve because it doesn't trigger Partition, and because of that, it is quite difficult. However, I think this deck has a good foundation going forward, and we've got some new cards coming out, such as the Dark Dramon, which has the Accel trait too. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what the future lies for this archetype. But for now, let's go into the first draft. Before we get into the first draft, however, I want to talk to you about Big Orbit, my affiliate for the channel. If you're looking to pick up any Accel cards or any cards from any TCG, Big Orbit probably has them. I've used them personally before being an affiliate with them, and they have been incredible. The swiftness of sending cards out and getting them on time for tournaments has been a lifesaver in the majority of scenarios for me. And if you use my link in the description down below and use my code, which is going to come up here now or in the description, you'll save 5% off on your purchase. All right, let's go into the first draft. Okay, so here we are with the first draft of Accel. I'm going to be going over all of the cards here, giving you my thoughts and why I built the deck this way in particular. I'm going to be starting off with the Pinomon. This is the only egg that you can essentially play in this deck, and it is a good one because it is a training on wheels essentially. If you play a Digimon, you get to Digivolve into a guy for a reduced cost of 2, essentially a training card without the search, and it's important for your main combo of the deck. So you play 4 of it. The issue with this card, however, is that as it is green, it has this weird like consistency issue because that means you're not able to go into the boosts or the training unless you have a level 3 on top of this, which is very awkward to say the least. We try to fix that as much as we can, but it is an issue that you will find in gameplay sometimes. Then we have 4 Lylemon. This is your typical searcher, but only search top 3. Add a card with Chaosmon or Accel trait and an option card with the Accel trait. Plain and simple, this is your main searcher to find Singularity of Chaos, which is, I wouldn't say needed, but is a really nice piece to find for the combo so you give your opponent less memory. You play 4 of it. And then we also have 4 Falcomon. This is your standard reduced by 1 rookie, and it's okay in this deck. Like, it does matter sometimes, but for the most part it's just another Accel trait. What you'll notice through this deck profile is that you're essentially playing 4 of each of the Accel cards because there are just no other alternatives to play in the deck. So for that reason you do play 4 of the Falcomon. Running off the rookie lineup is 2 Ukomon. I know people are a little bit guarded about this card at the moment, if it should be in the deck or not, but quite frankly it is just an important key piece of the deck early on. Digimon. One of the things that you'll find very quickly when playing this deck is that you don't have a lot of search, so you tend to supplement that with trainings, boosts, and also in this case Ukomon. Just finding a certain Digimon to sort your combo out, like the Chaosmon or like a level 6, or if you need a specific level 4, 5, etc. This card is very useful, and I find out that like giving your opponent 1 on turn 1 is actually very impactful. Forces them to either go into the level 4 and giving you 1, or they overspend on memory. So you're able to do things with that, and essentially this is just a free swing and then also hatch another egg. So you play 2 Ukomon to round up the rookie lineup. Then we go into the level 4s and we start off with Leomon. This is actually a really good card in the strategy. One of the big things that this deck essentially suffers from is stuff like can't reduce play costs, or you know, can't play Digimon by effects and stuff like that. Those type of rookies actually hurt the deck quite a bit, and just stuff like gaining memory and all that kind of stuff is annoying in the game itself. So Leomon's actually really nice in that regard, because you're able to do minus 3k DP and essentially get rid of the rookie straight away, and you're able to go into your turn. So for that reason you play 4 of it. And similar to the Leomon, we have 4 Diatrimon. This is just a simple suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Doesn't specify level, which is quite nice to say the least. Quite frankly, this is just really good, again, to get rid of those annoying rookies, but also just potentially suspend those big stacks. So if you're able to, you're then able to, you know, swing into it further in the combo, and then maybe if it's an ace, you get some memory back and everything. So it is a relatively good card for a level 4, quite frankly. One thing I haven't actually mentioned, I mentioned in the previous part, but the yellow-black stuff has barrier, the green-yellow stuff has piercing. So if you have stuff like the Falcom underneath and then you go into the Diatri, you're then able to get piercing check off the thing you suspend. So it's pretty good. And if you have barrier with Lyle or whatever you go for, essentially you essentially have pseudo protection from the security check. So it's good to get those early swings on with the deck. Then we have 4 Loader Leomon. This card I think is very underrated, quite frankly, because if you know that your opponent is setting up an ace play on the following turn, this allows you to essentially stop the effectiveness of that card. When you Digivolve or on play, until the end of your opponent's turn, one of their Digimon can't activate when Digivolving effects and gets minus 3k DP. Again, it's a nice thing to get rid of rookies, but if you have like an opponent has like a level 5 or a level 6 on field just waiting for you to swing so they can trigger the ace effect, well, you can do this, and if they decide to go for the ace anyways, they don't get when Digivolving effects, which means that card is essentially just useless throughout the combo. You can essentially swing into that later on, get your memory back essentially, which is huge for this deck. It's important to know those kind of things with this deck, because just gaining those small little advantages is going to go a long way in the game. Then we have 4 Chromon. This is an enabler of sorts. You get to suspend another opponent's Digimon, and then one of your Digimon gains 3k DP, and then one of your Digimon may attack. This is pretty good, essentially OTK turn kind of. If you're able to, for example, you know, go into the 6, play this, you swing, you'll be able to get the barrier, piercing checks and all that good stuff, great times. But then also if you combo with like the level 6s, you can force it to attack, and then you can go into the Pinomon, Digivolve into a level 6, and then you're able to swing with like 15k, 16, 17, 18k depending on the Digimon. The Inheritable is also quite nice, minus 4k on a Digimon, nothing to scoff at, quite frankly. Gets rid of most level 3s and quite a few level 4s as well, so you play 4 Chromon in the deck. Then you get into probably one of the best cards, quite frankly, in this archetype. It is the Bancho Leomon. As I said before, you can reduce the play cost by 5, so it becomes 7, which is lovely. We love 7 play cost level 6s. It's almost like an ace. On play when Digivolving, Digivolve 2, and then you do minus 5k to another Digimon. Most importantly, you can Digivolve one of their Digimon and then do minus 5k to another Digimon. You don't have to do it on one Digimon specifically. You can spread the effect around, and then it has the end of turn effect of you get to DNA Digivolve into a Chaosmon, and then it may attack. Yep, one of your enablers. This allows you to essentially clear a field, you know, just essentially get a lot of advantage going your way, and in that regard, you play 4 of it. It is one of your key pieces in the deck. Varudurimon is the one that you pretty much want to be playing out for the reduced cost, and because of that, play 4 of it in the deck. Allows you to suspend all of your opponent's Digimon, and then one of your Digimon gains 3k DP for the turn, and then it may attack. So the main combo here is that if you have a level 5 stack, so we'll say we have the Loader Leomon, we can play the Varudurimon through the Singularity of Chaos, or just hard playing it, swing with the level 5, then able to Digivolve into the Bancho Leomon or another Varudurimon, preferably the Bancho, and then you're able to swing with essentially 15k one check. That will always survive because you're
guaranteed pretty much to have the barrier in the traits itself, or 15k DP is good enough for the majority of cards in the game. Then you're able to end of turn DNA, go into like a Chaosmon, preferably this one, and then do another 2 checks at security. So that's the main combo of the deck. It also has minus 4k when attacking, which can come up sometimes. It doesn't come up that much, but yeah, still a pivotal card for the deck, and you play it at 4. Then we have Chaosmon Valderarm. This card is quite frankly insane. When you Digivolve, you get for each of your Digimon's level 6 Digievolution cards, guaranteed 2 every time essentially, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers and gain 1 memory. Then none of their Digimons or Tamers can activate on-play effects or unsuspend until the end of their turn. Huge, to say the least. Let's just face it, I mean, just essentially stunning the board is pretty good. No on-play effects, really nice. So they can't search, they can't do aces from hand, really nice, and it has partition as well. Decently protected as well. Yeah, this card is insane. There's a reason why people are splashing this in so many decks currently, because, well, at the moment, this just answers a lot of things in the meta, and Accel can make it very easily. So for that reason, you do play 3 of it. Then we play 1 Chaosmon from BT16. I'm not too sure how I feel about this card in testing, but I think it has a place. I'm not too sure if it's a good enough place though. It has barrier and blocker and partition, and then when Digivolving, you get to de-Digivolve 3, and then one of your opponent's Digimon gains minus 8k DP for the turn, and then end of opponent's turn, both players trash the top card of their security stacks. Interesting effect here. The reason why you play this one is sometimes there's just a big stack, like there's X antibody cards in the format. This deals with that pretty nicely, and you know, doesn't force you to attack. I mean, you don't have to attack with the Chaosmon anyways, but it's just another option and another target if a board or presence on the field is bad enough where you need a de-Digivolve 3, which is effective. So it works out pretty nicely, and the end of opponent's turn, trash a security, just a bit more protection, quite frankly. You know, you don't get the security at +1 from the Valderarm, but the security, trashing the security is still good enough in that regard, because it's just the second checks per se. Yeah, pretty decent, and you play it out 1. Play 2 TK. Set to 3 is always good in this deck, especially as if you get set to 3, you're able to essentially go into full combo for the most part. The security effect is also very nice as well. Being able to essentially add 1 and then recover 1 is very nice in the deck, quite frankly, because sometimes you're just missing a certain piece and TK is able to find it in security. The only problem is that, well, you can add any card from your security, so you can add stuff like the Singularity of Chaos, you just won't recover, but sometimes that is good enough. So yeah, you play 2 of this in the deck, and it's also just another way to fix the issue of having the green egg, because if you have a yellow source such as the TK, you're able to go into the following card. Those following cards being yellow memory boost and physical training. You know what these guys do, they search the deck, they're very effective in that regard, so you play 3 each because you do need to dig through your deck to find the pieces. I mean, what you're looking for in opening hand essentially, well, for your combo is level 3, 4, 5, 2 6s, a 7, option card potentially, and the memory to do that all. So these cards are pretty pivotal in the deck, and you play 3 each of them. Then we talk about the Singularity of Chaos. We play 4 of this. This card is just insane for the deck, quite frankly. Essentially, you're able to play this without the color requirements if you have a Chaosmon or Accel play, essentially. And then security effect, you gain a memory and add it to hand, so you're essentially guaranteed to get the card and gain a memory, which is quite nice, similar to the old X antibody card from BT9. And then your main effect is that you get to play a Digimon card with the Accel trait from your hand with a reduced play cost of 4, and then you get to place this card underneath one of your Digimon's bottom Digievolution card. And then end of turn, inheritable. If this Digimon has Chaosmon in its name, trash the opponent's top security card, and this Digimon gets minus 30k DP for the turn. So this card is great because essentially this allows us to play stuff like the Varu or the Bancho out for, well, relatively cheap, like it's for 7, and then you play this for, you know, reduced cost of 4, so you're able to play it for free, but you have to play 2 for the Singularity of Chaos. Still playing that much is pretty good in my opinion, and you're able to get the memory back from Valderarm as well. So the main thing about this card though is the end of opponent's turn effect. The minus 30k thing is a gameplay thing, so it does trigger your partition, so you're able to get your bodies back out from your Chaosmons to then swing on the following turn, and as it is your end of your opponent's turn, they can swing on your turn. So Singularity of Chaos, pretty good card as it turns out, and that is my first draft of Accel.
And that right there is the first draft for Accel. I think this deck is incredibly fun, and it's kind of nice to have a level 7 deck that is able to, you know, DNA. I don't think there's that many of them. They're currently like level 5 and level 6s, so it's kind of nice to have like a different play style. And I like the fact that this is essentially just like a 1-stack deck that you can play stuff and get stuff like the training reduction effects go off, which is pretty cool, I would say. And the best part about this deck is that all of the Digimon are relatively cheap costs. Like the level 3s only cost 3 to play, the level 4s only cost 4 to play, level 5s only cost 6. So if you count the fact that you're able to then, you know, training as well into a new form, like level 3 to level 4, 4 to level 5, etc., you're gaining huge benefits through this deck. So I think this deck can easily be abused if they get more support in the future, but there isn't anything announced yet, and that kind of disappoints me, other than the Darkdramon. I'm looking forward to the future of this deck though. Maybe with new level 7s it'll be more interesting, maybe with new level 3s or 4s, 5s, a whole new line potentially, it could become even more interesting in years to come. However, do you like Accel? Or do you dislike it? Or have you had a bad experience playing Accel currently? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching this episode of First Draft, and I'll see you all next time.